Clickbait, $1 million idea. Let's see anybody make $1 million off of that idea. But it does have some good points, I believe, and that's you need to understand your instrument and the parts that go into it, appreciate the history, development, and also perhaps get into a little bit of restoration and repair to save some money, and also, repairing violin bows for fun and profit. The modern violin bow, way back here, has a certain balance, certain length, they're standardized, and a certain area where most of the bend is, and a certain curvature. That didn't spring into existence right off the bat. Go to Violin Lounge and look up the evolution of the violin bow, or else just do a search, evolution of the violin bow, and go down to the Violin Lounge section, web page, and do some reading. Gain a greater appreciation for how these things came to be. I would say this is very similar. It shares a lot in common to language. The violin is your friend. Sometimes your nemesis. But you need to be able to talk to that. And this is, in many respects, the language, the dialect. Can you barely understand Spanish, or can you speak it fluently? That has a lot to do with the fineness of the bow. It's gotten really to the development stage that the weight, the length, the balance, and this curve where it is determines that a modern bow has a half inch in here where it contacts the strings, where it can bounce, where maybe the Tort bow, Francois Tort, really was the instigator of evolution of the modern violin bow, where there was not a half an inch of bouncing length, an inch, and it had a different amount of bend to it. Let's compare this Pernambuco bow. I hope I can do this so you can see what I'm talking about here, to a lower cost bow. They look a lot alike, but if you were to have a fine bow and a lower cost bow, I better do it like this so you can actually have a chance to see and line it up. Well, you can't see it, but take my word for it that this bow, the good one, has more bend. Has more bend towards the tip, where this one, this cheaper bow, they just like stuck it on their bending forms and stuck a bend in it. It's more down towards the middle, like a Tort bow. Didn't spend a lot of time. But really, this bow and this bow, which are Brazil wood, which there's some discussion. What is that? Is that some kind of mahogany or whatever? The same bend, more or less. They'd be for your average driver relating to cars. You can take one of the cheaper bows. You can drive to the store. You can drive to Aunt Millie's house. You can take a trip down to Florida or Mississippi or wherever. You'll get there fine. But if you're an F1 driver, you need a better bow, higher performance. Hit those curves faster, get more acceleration, go down the road at higher speeds with stability. You would need something like this, an actual fine violin bow. If you're just, again, driving to school, driving to the store, a utilitarian, not the F1 driver, a violinist or fiddlers, these will serve you very well. Now let's get into my $1 million idea. And again, after this, you're going to go to the evolution of the violin bow to greatly appreciate how incredibly sophisticated these things are. And no way would I even attempt, John's going to sit down and within a week become a bow maker, be able to craft fine violin bows. No. No, no, it's not going to happen. But my $1 million idea, and consider it on your own, is that I have the technology. Look at this. It's almost like a Baroque bow. It's so old, even though it's a Pernambuco bow, a decent quality bow. There's no more bend in it. The years, the years have aged its joints. The years makes its knees creak every time it gets off the couch. But again, I've got the technology to take. There's a twist in it. Take that twist out and also put the bend in there. I don't need to be a master bow maker. I don't need to understand backwards and forwards that I need to scrape a little bit off of here, give it a little more stiffness. I'm counting on the fact that whoever made this is a decent bow. It just, seen its better days, knew what the heck they were doing. So I'm going to give you a tip here. I'm going to make a bending form using this one as a guide, the really good one. And I matched it up along my other good one, and it has the same bend in it. Klaus Becker 2-star bow, Pernambuco, along with this fake W.E. Hill bow that was made in the 1800s, although this is a very fine bow. Get this cut in the wood, maybe exaggerate it just a tiny bit, because when you bend wood and you take it off the form, it'll go back a little bit. So I need to take that into account. I need to use my years of wood bending this. And then on that thing, take a router, oh yeah, and route a little channel in it, so if there's any sideways bends in it, I better not do it with this bow. It'll take those out. Then I also need to come up with a clampy method to hold the tip, along with taking that screw eye that this screw goes through and tightening it down so there's no movement in the frog, and getting that set. Now, as far as how do you heat shape a bow? Take this with a grain of salt. I have not worked with one of these yet, although I've worked with bows to kind of throw arrows a lot, so I'm privy to heat bending. I watched the one single video I found on YouTube, how to get the twist out of a bow, and he said this magical stuff on it. He doesn't know what it is, he buys it from someone, it's magical stuff. As a bow maker, other kind of bow, heat bending, I'm going to try a little bit of tallow mixed with paraffin. Keep the wood from scorching, allow the heat to soak in, keep it a little hotter, and either a heat gun or the electric range top in the kitchen here to get it hot. The fellow that was demonstrating how to get the twist out actually used a flame and was running the bow through the flame after he rubbed the magical stuff on it. I'm going to use electric. Heat is heat. I wrote a comment in there. I'm sure people will disagree with me, but heat is heat. You get the wood hot. You put something on there to keep the wood from scorching, and I'm going to use paraffin mixed with a little bit of tallow. The next thing that we all should know, how much does it cost? This is brand new hair put on here. It cost me $70. If you're going to rehair your bow or bows when they should be rehaired, that piles up. But how cool would that be to buy, let me reach out of the frame again, a bow like this, and the silver wrapping on the grip was just shredded, so I took it off. I took the leather off. How cool would that be to learn how to rehair bows on your own? Go to eBay, find, like, this is a gamble, a good old Pernambuco bow that's warped, doesn't have hair, unwarp it, rehair it, and then sell it for millions of dollars. And I'm being a little bit sarcastic there, but you get my drift. I also want to learn the ways of putting that silver back on there, leather grip. And in this case, I am going to get a new, this is really ugly, I'm going to get a new frog screw, and they come with the little screw that you put into the frog so the threads are matching. I'm going to dress that up. What else was I going to say? Oh, I know what I was going to make a comment of. There's some videos on YouTube of people breaking violin bows. TikTok. TikTok is where minds go to die. Breaking a violin bow. But you know what? That is one heck of an opportunity. You've got this old bow. You don't care about it. Hairs are bad or whatever. To learn how to rehair bows at that point. It's like getting the oil changed in your car. Suppose you're sending your bow off to get rehaired for $70. You need to rehair your bows more often than most people do, because the little bristles on the hairs get worn down and they don't sound as good. And again, this is communicating with your violin. If you were to get your bow rehaired, if you play a lot every 6 months or even a year, that's an extra $70 a year that you could spend on other things like seafoam. But why not learn how to rehair bows? I'm sure the first one isn't going to turn out well, but there's a lot less setup. There's a lot less needed to rehair bows than there would be to build a violin. There would be a lot less to get into, and again, get some cheap bows and just experiment. Use those as learning instead of just snapping them for a TikTok view. Learn how to get twists out of them. Learn how to do this, that, and the other thing. Why not? Again, chances are you're not a Formula One racer. You're just a person driving your car to the grocery store. And so you don't need to have a world-class bow for your Guarneri or your Guadagnini or your Stradivarius. You're playing Old Molly Hare. You're not playing a Paganini Caprice. So you don't need to have the best bow. But I bet you dollars to donuts, if given a little bit of ambition, given a little bit of practice, you could probably learn the ways of the bow. And also, do go to the Violin Lounge and read their bit on the evolution of bows and gain a greater appreciation for this stick with a string on it. Well, that is all. I've talked enough. Have a good one. And change the oil in your car. Cars are an investment. Don't blow it by just, like these people again on YouTube, the first oil changed in 28,000 miles. My God, woman, you just bought a $35,000 car and you drove it 28,000 miles before your first oil change? It's not only going to destroy your car, but you just threw your warranty out the window. Yeah, buddy.